Cat. It's Maximus here, this time with a review of this Master Mechanic or rebranded Pratt-Read Made in America 6-in-1 screwdriver. 6-in-1 screwdrivers are these common kind of flip tip screwdrivers where you have these interchangeable tips. They have ball detents built into the bits, so you have like a common size number 2 Phillips and you have a smaller size. And then each end of this rod, this side would be just standard 1/4 inch, like what the same size impact driver bits would use, but they don't include a magnet, so you can't use like a standard bit with them. And then they have this larger 5/16 size, so the idea is that you could use this as a handy nut driver as well as a screwdriver. I was just fascinated to see that a True Value Hardware had an American-made one. They have a whole bunch of import ones, and then this is their premium unit. It was kind of pricey, but for an American-made one, $12 wasn't so bad. And surprisingly enough, they're selling this on Amazon for like $15, $16. So retail shelf was much cheaper, and they were actually kind of proud of it. There you go, made in USA. And this seems to be the standard part number. I'll include that in the description, 211404. One criticism, it's all for $12 for an American-made unit. I think it's overall pretty nice. Even these little bits are American-made. Another thing is the True Value actually had packs where it's just each of these bits by themselves if you just wear them out or need to replace them. So I thought that was kind of interesting that hardware store actually has on the shelf replacement tips for these screwdrivers. 1 1/4 inch, 1 5/16. Another thing is that it seems to be slightly different from the Pratt-Read. This seems to be a little bit narrower on this one. And on the 1/4 inch side, it seems to show in some of the pictures where it's turned down, or indeed this case it is not turned down. A nice aspect is it does indeed have a steel inner collar, but unfortunately it's only a couple inches deep. It only goes about this deep, and we can see that the acetate handle does get kind of thin down here at the bottom. So if you're in a pinch using the slot head as a pry tool, I would worry about potentially breaking that. That's probably the biggest disappointment, is they should have made that steel sleeve go all the way through, kind of like the Servolite, so it's very heavy duty. The tolerances are okay. You can tell a really good one because these tolerances here are pretty tight. This one isn't too bad, but I consider it standard. Here's like the premium Harbor Freight one, which is aluminum with like a 2-inch cast zinc section, and it's better than the Harbor Freight. I do like the grip, and I think a lot of mechanics or people who are that type may like this because this has this, it's kind of like a durable rubber overmold. It does have these splines in the mold that interact with the grips on the screwdriver handle here, so it doesn't want to twist or slide around on the handle. It also gives you the unique ability to pull it off if you just would like something with this traditional acetate handle. I like that it's 5 lobes, and they're all pretty deep. Ergonomics, I think, between that and maybe the Weir style. I think these Weir styles are probably the most absolute ergonomic, but this is pretty close because you get a nice big cushy grip and really nice deep ridges where you can get a lot of grip, especially if your hands are wet or greasy or something like that. And it turns out, you know, there's a couple different sizes of these things. If you ever see these flip tips, they're the standard ones, which have like a 1/4 inch and 5/16. That will have a 7/16 outer diameter, and then they're like the 11-in-1 that have a bunch of collars. Those are terrible, and they are larger diameter. But we have this old Servolite, which is actually has a pretty high tolerance, and if we use this rod in here, we can see what an actual tight one. There should be just almost no play at all. Unfortunately, the Servolite, I believe, was sold at like a coast to coast, kind of like what the more expensive of the Enders 4-in-1. So somebody had asked, and unfortunately, this is more of a vintage tool that you'll have to find on eBay or something like that. That'd be with this ratcheting one, and that was kind of the impetus, because I kind of like the idea of having an American-made stem to go along with my old American-made Servolite here. But for $12 for an American-made flip tip that's a rebranded Pratt-Read, I think it's pretty decent. These at all, as long as you don't pry too much on it, I think it probably would hold up under some pretty heavy-duty prying loads. But I do worry about that just a little bit. But overall, to get an American-made driver that actually has a pretty unique grip that a lot of people may like, and is actually easy to use under real world working conditions. I think it's worth going for it. Also, they have, these are like their top end ones. They have normal screwdrivers, Phillips and slot head screwdrivers, that are also the American made rebranded Pratt-Reads with the same grip, but I decided to go for the 6-in-1. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And I do hope everybody, as much as possible, can really stay healthy and safe. Anyway, until next time, Catus Maximus out.